Away.
Okay, thank you so much, Marcel. Um, I will try to test things out to share my screen, and then we will take it from there.
Yeah, I got the screen and the sound is great. So yeah, take it away.
Okay, okay, thank you everyone for joining this AMA session. My name is Angela. I'm a geospatial specialist, and I'm going to talk about using geospatial tools in transport and humanitarian actions. I will highlight on some of my projects that I've done in these various sectors and the impact for each of them. Um, Below is my Twitter and email. If you want to reach out, you have any questions, you can feel free to do so. Um, Before I start the presentation about the tools and my projects, I'd like to say a bit about myself and my journey with geospatial. In 2018, I graduated from university with the BSc in environmental engineering. And right after graduation, I took part in Open Cities Accra, which is a project by the World Bank to map for climate change. And OSM led the project in collaboration with HOT. Um, this project was my first experience when it comes to field application of geospatial. So we were able to map the buildings, sanitation, flood data of certain parts of Accra because when it rains, these places usually get flooded, and they wanted to know what is happening in the data. During the field, I saw a lot of things. You could see that the people, in their own way, are building resilience by raising their building very high so that in case of flooding, the water will just slip under. And I was also happy about the concern of the government and the World Bank to try to understand the situation there and also use geospatial tools. After that, I joined OSM Ghana and I helped with club activities, forming a functional board, and an executive committee. Alongside, I was working as a research development officer for a company. Um, I worked there for 1 year and 8 months, and I quit my job because I got so much interest in geospatial because of my project with open cities and the impact, just observation, how the tools are being used, the people that is being helped, and the whole interest in using geospatial just was so attractive to me, and I quit my job to full time build a career in geospatial. Um, right after I got a contract to work as a field research manager for GUMAP. I will talk more about it later in the slide. And also, I became an active volunteer for Trophy. Okay. With the projects that I will categorize as humanitarian is the Open Cities Accra project that we mapped the buildings, and also we mapped the buildings using the hot taxi manager with an aerial imagery, and also we went on the field using ODK to collect data on the type of material that the buildings are, the flood history. We measured the depth of the drains, etc. At the end of this project, we produce an open data. It's available on OSM for anybody to make use of. And during the mapping challenge, I visualized the data to differentiate between concrete buildings and buildings made out of wood. And it's just striking visualization. Then you ask yourself, how come these buildings, which are wood, um, situated by the riverside, and when it gets flooded, they get affected. So there's just a lot of thinking, a lot of brainstorming, and I find it very stimulating to my mind, and hence why I quit my job and I'm doing this. After this one, I took part in the Ghana Waste Platform, a project by UNDP, and they want to know the waste collection points in Ghana, in Accra. Um, when it comes to plastic waste, I would say there is advancement where there are companies that are just built upon collecting plastic waste. So we went around mapping those companies, their locations. So if somebody wants to dispose of his or her plastic waste, the person can have access, know the closest disposable center, which is also a very interesting project. And I met these two wonderful women. I was just so amazed by how diligent they are with their job. They took their time to explain everything to me, why they sort the bottles according to colors, where they get the waste from, how much they weigh, and they could also tell you certain trends when it comes to waste collection, and it's just amazing. Um, I've added links to the project below. The slides will be shared later, so if you want to read more about them, you can do so. Another one, it's a Microgrant by HOT, and we went all the way to the north. That is like 63-kilometer drive with my friends that are also into open source. Um, and we went to Larbanga. It's a tourist town. It has the Mole Park, the Larbanga Mosque that is very much visited by a lot of people. And Robert from Germany formed the club with the locals. So they mapped every single feature that is on the ground on Larbanga. So if you search for Larbanga, Larabaga, you find it to be very well mapped, and it's just a beautiful map. And the fact that the locals are included is just awesome. Aside this visit that we went to them to teach them how to use um, the taxi manager ODK Mapillary, we engaged them in mapathons, etc. So it's a continuous relationship with them. In transport, I got involved in the Ghana Urban Mobility Project that is aimed at trying to um, reform the mobility in Accra. I I feel the effect of poor planning in the city, but when I took part in this transport project, I realized that there are a lot of things that can be done, and being part of the field data collection just opened my eyes with the frequency surveys that we did, the onboarding surveys, the passenger
Sorry,
surveys,
interjection. Il fallait appeler les avertir.
Non,
and all the engagements with the stakeholders, the, the operators of these buses like GPRTU, cooperative, and the MMDAs, the local government. It's really, let's say, my stimulating like the other projects. And we created a map also. The data is being uploaded in OSM, so you can have access to it as well. Transport for Cairo, they are a company based in Egypt, and they provided the software for this data collection. But aside this, software for transport data collection is also openly available. Um, After the urban mobility project, I also took part in high volume transport project by USAID, and it's also a research project. With that, we were able to talk to the operators as well, financiers transport people who buy um, vehicles for others. Then we're able to understand the organizational structure when it comes to transport in Ghana. And it was also very interesting. You would see the willingness of the the trotro operators or the transport operators, the private transport operators in Ghana, and how they are willing to change the transport system. But there are lots of issues when it comes to them, and it's one of the very interesting research that we did. The links are also down below. After talking to all of these people, um, knowing very well how the transport system is important, and if it's being transformed, it's possible that you could travel, you could commute from your home to your office in 30 minutes instead of 1 hour. You could save a lot of time, you could save a lot of money on fuel. You could also save the planet by emitting less fuel. So I became active um, in Trophy Association. Trophy Association is an NGO based in Germany, and they want to make public transport like trotros, which is very common in Africa, attractive to people. So they have an app in Accra called the Trotro app that will help people move from one place to the other. If you're supposed to go somewhere and you don't know the nearest bus stop, the app would help you do that. Um, I found out that they ran a very good course, and I joined them to find ways in which we can transform the system. Currently, I'm working with them to see how we can work with GAPTE, the operators of Fire Lulu, which is the metro mass, the mass transit in the city. Currently, they don't have a lot of passengers. They only operate on peak hours, that is morning and evening. So aside that, in between, they don't get passengers because they don't have any information. They don't know where these passengers are. They don't know, the passengers don't know where their buses are. So our current project right now is working with them to map demand and supply. And if this works, what would happen is that this bus that has a current capacity of 80 people will largely reduce the private cars that are in the system, because currently fuel prices are very expensive. They've all hiked up, and providing people with the opportunity to make that choice or even take Ayalolo buses would be so helpful to the passengers, improve the business of Ayalolo, and also just improve general mobility um, in the city. Aside my volunteering for Trophy, I took part in a course that is by VREF, Volvo Research, and the main aim of the course is to teach African transport researchers about mobility, and I talked about my experience with the Guma project and the high volume transport. So let's talk about the tools. When it comes to data collection, geospatial data collection, there are a lot of steps to take. There's going to be a lot of planning. There's going to be field data collection. You have to decide if you need aerial imagery. After collecting all this data, the tools that you actually use to collect this data on the field, how to clean this data, how to make this data available, and even make analysis, visualization for people to actually understand your end product. So these are the tools that are very vital when it comes to uh, data collection in general. There are other ones, there are different variations, they are closed source, but I feel open source tools are much more impactful because there are a lot of resources when it comes to how you can use these open source tools. There are communities that are willing to help you. So I'm just going to highlight on them. You have Learn OSM. Learn OSM would help you know how to map, basically, make you understand the intricacies and the basics, uh, how to map points, polygons, what to put under all of those ways, etc. We have the hot taxi manager. When it comes to mapping, to prevent duplication, the hot taxi manager helps segregate, divide the tasks for you. So one person would work on task one, the other task two at the same time, and there's no duplication. Aerial imagery is very important when it comes to mapping because it serves as the eye for you to see that this actually exists on the ground, and you'll be able to say that would a point be sufficient? Would mapping it as a way be sufficient? Mapping it as a polygon will be sufficient. We have Open Map Kit. Open Map Kit is very easy to use with GIS enabled phones that you can just use your phone and collect the data. It's very easy. One thing about geospatial tools when it comes to collection, maybe analysis might be a bit advanced and visualization. The rest are very easy for people to use. Um, JOSM, Java OpenStreetMap, is used for cleaning the data. It's very important for you to clean the data because there are some issues that might come up when data is being collected, etc. So you can use it to clean your data. QGIS can be used to create maps, make advanced visualizations, like how I said for the Open Cities project, where I visualize and I notice a trend that there are a lot of wooden buildings by the side of the river, and there are a lot of cement buildings on the other side. It makes you ask certain questions, make you make meaningful contributions and impact. We have the hot export tool as well. After collecting the data and uploading it, the export tool makes it easier for you to share the data. Aside this, it's also important for you to document your process. So we have wiki, we have OSM wikis. You can use the wikis free and open source. Anybody can see your work. You can also maybe if you are not part of the organizers of the data collection, you can decide to document your own journey on your OSM wiki as well. No, OSM diary. We did um we did a tutorial on that. You can check it out. All of these tools have embedded links on them. So when you click on it, you can have access to the tools. It has descriptions, it has how you can use them, it has links to the tool itself. Yeah. Just take away if you're new to geospatial, you want to try your hands on it and see how you can excel. I'm just going to talk about transport and humanitarian. They are also embedded links as well. So, Trophy, I talked about Trophy as an NGO that wants to make transports attractive to a lot of people. So you can join them as well and also make an impact when it comes to transport in your city. You have HOT, Humanitarian OpenStreetMap. They have working groups. If you are interested in community development, data collection, validation, etc., activation, they have working groups that you can join. When I quit my job, I needed to have a plan as to how I'm going to build my career in geospatial because I already have connections or I work with OpenStreetMap. I put it as a goal to also join the international discussions and discourse about geospatial, OpenStreetMap, community development, etc. So joining HOT working group and also OSM Africa, it really opened me to a lot of people, a lot of connections, etc. Um, I guess that's the last slide. So thank you very much for staying with me, and I hope this presentation was impactful. I will stay on for any questions.
Great, Angela. That was yeah, very enlightening and a great story. Before we kind of jump into it, I was just going to say, Angela, if you were going to have a slide, we lost your profile pic there, so if we can just have your camera, that would be great. I do want to start because actually Nicole snuck in an early question on Lumio, which is great, and I think you, for the most part, answered it. I just wanted to move back to Nicole and ask if you were satisfied. Is she still on the call? Yeah, I see you're still here. So, yeah, okay, it's answered. And do you have any follow-up questions or anything you want to?
Hi, this is Nicole. I was just really curious about Angela's journey, and I really enjoyed her presentation. Thank you so much, Angela. And you answered the question also in Lumio and here as well in your presentation. So thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, I saw. Sorry, I saw a thing flash by if somebody wanted to ask.
I think it was Hawa. Yeah.
Yeah, please. If you want to come off mute and ask your question, or type it in, either way.
No, it wasn't a question actually. I just wanted to compliment Angela's presentation. It was really nice and a really cool journey out there. I just wanted to know how I can join Trophy. I mean, how I can volunteer. If you can talk more about that.
Okay. Nicole, would you like to answer that? Or?
Yes, hi, I'm the volunteer coordinator for Truthy. So you can contact me, actually. I'll put my email in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
And also in the presentation, there's a link to their volunteering page that you can send an email. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Anyone else? I don't see anything else in the Lumio. Nothing so far in the chat. So, yeah, Jeffrey, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I do have a question for Angela. So thank you, Angela, for the presentation. That's really inspiring work. My question is what kind of advice would you give to, young women out there who want to venture out in tech and GIS and mapping? Because there is always less kind of representation when it comes to women. So what can we do to to encourage more women into this field? And from your own experience, what has worked in Ghana? Because from your presentation, there's several women in Ghana who are really active. So what can other communities learn from your work just to encourage more women into mapping and GIS and tech? Thank you.
You're welcome. When it comes to what I can say to young women is that it's quite difficult to actually build a career from, let's say, from scratch. In my situation, and when you start, it's best to join a community. And on Twitter, you can search for anybody that is in the geospatial. You contact the person, and the person can help you as a mentor, because having a mentor is very, very important in this case. I always cite Enoch, even though he's a man, but how he started with OpenStreetMap, how he helped me is that anytime I ask him any question, he's willing to answer. Like anytime, any day, he's willing to answer. And he has imbibed a certain culture in us that if somebody comes, we make the information open because we help other people if you have a question, etc. And we also advocate so that it's not only one person that knows maybe data cleaning, only one person knows data collection. We always try to share that information. So in case that person leaves, there's somebody else to replace him or her. And there's this issue that affects everybody, but I think women are prone to it. Is we feel that what we are doing is not correct, like it's not enough. But sometimes you just have to take a step back and appreciate yourself because you are doing great. If you aren't, somebody will tell you politely, or you can just ask somebody, "Hi, how am I doing?" Because it's very difficult. It's easy for a woman to have an imposter syndrome when he or she gets a job. I had one, and I talked to somebody who worked in the same company. Annalie, hello. And she helped me a great deal. So I think you should talk to other people. You're doing well. You don't have to stress so much. Yeah. Yes, yes, it does. I hope I've answered the question, Jeffrey.
Yeah, feel free to come back, Jeffrey, if you had more there. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, I'm looking, I don't see any hands raised. So, yeah, feel free to come off. Oh, is that Pete? Is that a hand raised?
Hi, Angela. Thanks for your
Hi.
presentation and your chat. It's really good. I'm just wondering if people want to be mentors for new mappers, young people, young women, how is it best to kind of like, I don't know, signpost that? Because it can be, I know that it can be difficult for people to get in touch with other people and ask for help. Like, how can we all do a better job, like making ourselves available?
Yes. I will talk about on the side of somebody who wants to mentor and another person who wants to be mentored. To be mentored in geospatial, it's easier for you to start a discussion with somebody that is close to you, like in your environs. And OSM has made it quite easier. We have communities across the whole world. So if you're in a city, you can search for a local chapter and join the chapter. It's not bad to ask questions. It's not bad to ask for help. So talking to those people would really help. That is the beginning. And you can also go international. If you can just cold call someone, just ask a question. It might be very difficult on the side of the mentor because he or she probably has a lot on his plate, doesn't really know you. So having that, it's an issue. But I think as people who also want to mentor people, we should also try to be very available for others as well. Sometimes when I send a message to somebody and the person hasn't replied, I feel like it's me, I'm the problem. But sometimes the person is just busy or doesn't have enough time to talk to you. So for people who want to be mentored, start with a local community and then join others afterwards. And for mentors, try as much as possible to answer other people's questions, etc. So that they don't feel so shy, so it will be difficult for them to talk to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so we still have time for questions. If people are worried about us going over time or anything like that, feel free. We we have a good 10 minutes or so carved out for this. I mean, I guess I can lead with one, Angela. Yeah, Arnold wants to speak first, so I'll let her go, and then I'll come back.
Yeah, I think, my question would be like, what's your favorite? What's like your your learnings or your top learnings in the work that you're doing, either or both in the transport and humanitarian sector that you would like to share?
Okay. The for both, I think I will start by let's say hard skills, because it's quite, is it hard or soft skills? Like talking to people, etc. in the workplace. It's quite difficult for people to learn. And when I started working for Trophy, I had to, I mean, call like the administrator for GAPTE and say, hi, um, I've seen that you are doing a lot of work in transport, and from all the stakeholder engagements I've done with you, you need help. I work for Trophy and would like to help you as well. So something like that is quite difficult, and having that confidence to talk to people, is quite difficult. When it comes to things that would aid you be more technical, for humanitarian, learning how to collect data, like simple data, using tools like Open Data Kit, the Hot Taxi Manager. It's really important, and also it's also good to know how to speak in public. We are all trying. It's difficult. You get the nerves of it, but the more you try, the better you get, so that you can organize marathons. You can talk about your project, etc. I mean, you only live once. You should try all of these things before you probably leave us. When it comes to transport, I'm still learning how to make a GTFS data, and I'm doing some transport research. So it's a continuous research as to where to get your data sources when it comes to air pollution, when it comes to GTFS. So with that, you're able to learn all the communities, all of the people that are working in this transport sector, and it's easier to connect with them. Yeah, soft skills are the hard ones.
Did that answer you, Arnold? Yeah, Pete, I think I saw your hand come up. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is just a comment really, because I think that really resonates. And I was listening to an interview with I think it was chief scientific officer at NASA, she's a brilliant woman, and it was a really great interview. And she said, in NASA, they've stopped calling them soft. They're just skills, the same as all other skills, because they're as important. And she felt like the word soft kind of relegated them a bit. So yeah, I think I agree with that.
Yeah, perfect. And my sort of comment question was along the same lines, Angela. When you talked about like the having the imposter syndrome and those kind of things, which I think a lot of us relate to, and just like questioning whether or not we're doing well. Do you have examples that either yourself or people you've worked with that have actually like run into negative comments in OpenStreetMap, and like how did they sort of shoulder those negative comments and be able to get over them? Because I think that it's a risk especially in the open source world of kind of running into the curmudgeon that like gives you a very negative review of something you did, and how do people get over it?
Yeah. This happened to me. When I started mapping, I wasn't that good, so I happened to do like a very terrible thing. when it comes to mapping, and I applied for something that is very close to my problem, or like my mistake, and the person contacted me that, oh yeah, you did this mistake, I think you should correct it. It was good for the person to, correct me, but I felt like at that point it was just my mistake that the person pointed out. The person didn't point out like resources that I can have access to correct that mistake. So I think it's a learning process for everybody. So it has also taught me something, that if somebody has done something wrong and I want to correct the person, saying that you've done something wrong is probably not enough, because the person clearly doesn't know and did the wrong thing. So adding a resource or something for the person to make reference to and correct his or her mistakes is also important to add to the correction.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, great example. Looks like we have a couple of questions in the chat, and that will probably get us to the end of our time. So Jeffrey, I'll just read yours real quick, and then you can follow up if necessary. What is the one thing you would like to see change in the open mapping community?
I like more people to be interested and also volunteering their time. There are a lot of things you can do. Maybe you can help in community development, you can help map, you can help data cleaning, etc. So I'd like people to be to have more interest in the open mapping communities, because sometimes it's good to take a break, but having an interest, maybe helping mapping, helping mapathons, etc., would help grow the community, because it's sometimes difficult to develop a community when the community members are clearly not that active. It gets frustrating sometimes, but it is a volunteering venture, so you just have to chill and just talk to them kindly. Maybe they have a lot of things on their plate. Just take your time. Yeah. I wish that could happen, but a way to remedy is to just continue your efforts of mapping and developing communities. You would definitely reach somebody who has more interest, and the person will stay and make a lot of impact. Yeah.
Great. So yeah, I think that's perfect. Pete has one more question that I'll just ask you to kind of fly through. You don't have to think about it too much, but he's just asking, from a community or volunteer perspective, what are the gaps in our sort of menu of open source tools, and what would be on your OS tool wish list?
I think this is, it's not a gap really, but there's a lot of information on almost every single thing when it comes to open source tools. But the issue here is for somebody to dedicate his time and energy to actually learn all of these tools, because I tried using the hot exports. It's no, the overpass API. Yeah, overpass. It's quite difficult, and for somebody to grasp and actually make use of it. I think my wish list. There are a lot of things. There are a lot of good things here. My wish list is, I don't know. How should I have a wish list? Maybe it will take some time.
Yeah, maybe you can.
A lot of information.
Maybe you can come back in the Lumio and give us a comprehensive wish list after you get a chance to think about it. So
Yes.
thank you so much, Angela. That was a really enlightening and great AMA, especially for International Women's Day. So yeah, I can't thank you enough for being here and being with us. And yeah, was somebody trying to jump in there? Yeah, I guess everybody can also come off mute and clap if you don't want to do the
Thank you.
So with the last 10 minutes or 9 minutes till the hour, we're going to jump into sort of our normal agenda for the community working group. So if everybody that's here for that, please stick around. Angela, please, feel free to stick around as well. I know you normally contribute on the normal working group agenda. So without further ado, there's really, I guess, just one item right now. We have a little time if folks want to add agenda items to the list. And I think maybe we can drop the link again. Just to people, it's kind of far up there in the chat. But yeah, agenda item 1. And so I guess meeting adjourned. We don't necessarily have to record this or